time is it? 7. Anyway, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. Easter Monday. Oh, got a couple people in so far. Welcome to my live. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. Okay, I'm cold now. I keep getting cold and hot. I'm trying to get over this dumb flu I've had. Anyway. Okay. The amount of times I've taken this thing off and on all day, it's ridiculous. Okay, now. Oh, and for anyone who was in on the live, I did the live. They're still going on for the boot camp course. The video that I did, I'm doing like a live Zoom every Saturday during for 6 weeks on the boot camp course. I've done week 1. That Zoom, if you're in the boot camp course, that Zoom call that I did with group coaching, that is now on there. I'm going to change it up a little bit. That was my first time doing it, and I think I had 35 people turn up, so that was pretty good. For people to take the time out of their Saturday to do that, that was really nice. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to do a little bit different next week. Just try to make it a little bit more efficient. But anyway, how to become a leader with a child you have not birthed? Well, I'm adopted, so what's the difference? Like, they're your kids. Doesn't matter if you have them or not. Yeah, I was adopted, so very much. And my brother wasn't, so it was the same relationship. Didn't matter. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. They're yours. Doesn't matter if you had them or not. I always thought, I used to brag about being adopted all the time. My mom used to say she overshot with my confidence with that, because I always felt very special because I was chosen. And anyone who wasn't adopted was just had, but I was chosen. That made me more special. So that's the way she sold it to me. And that's yeah, I thought being adopted made me more special. So I still am 63. I still think so. It's funny. So I used to brag about it all the time. I was adopted. I didn't realize that some people might not see it that way, but I didn't care. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions now. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. I just finished that Zoom call, the group coaching on Saturday. We're going to be doing it every Saturday for another 5 weeks. If you want to get in on that, you have to be in the boot camp course. And it's just group coaching. And then the coaching, the one-on-one private coaching is a separate thing. If you want to look into that, I can't always take people on. I'm going to get to your emails tonight. I've been fighting this flu. Geez, it's really hard because I have to answer all this stuff myself. And when you're sick, I can't be sick, right? I work 7 days a week, but I love my job, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, I got to get to the emails tonight. So if you've got an email waiting, I'll be answering that tonight. Okay, I love your take on adoption. I chose my 2 sons by adoption through foster care. We are fully transparent and let them know they were chosen. Yeah, I was chosen. My mom got this phone call. I can remember saying this too. There's all the neighborhood kids were around, and I guess they'd heard that I was adopted. I was adopted back in 1960. There was a stigma attached to that. I didn't realize that. Anyway, so they said, "Oh, you were adopted. Oh, you were adopted." And I said, "Yeah, I was chosen. You guys were just had, but I was chosen. That makes me more special and all that." My mom got all these phone calls from all the neighborhood kids. Mom, can you please tell Lisa to tell our children they're special too, just because they weren't adopted? So, Mom said she overshot a little bit, but better that than the other. Yeah, I always felt that there was no difference. Any suggestions on how to get siblings to not goof around at bedtime when they share a room? That's kind of a trick. There's so many different ways I could go with that one. I don't know how old they are, for one thing. If they're older, I wouldn't really worry about it unless they don't get up the next morning for school. Or I would say if I hear any goofing around, there'll be a consequence, or you have to do more chores tomorrow or something. So yeah, just put it on the behavior board and say no goofing around after bedtime, and give them some goof around time. Maybe make bedtime a little bit earlier. Like if they normally go to bed at 8, make it 7:30. From 7:30 to 8 o'clock, say that's your goofing time. So give them that time. Maybe they need to do that. So factor it in. You got to get organized with this stuff. You got to work with them, right? I've been watching your videos religiously lately. Oh, that's very nice. I have a toddler and a child with autism. Do you have any suggestions for navigating fights between a toddler and a child with? I'll be honest, I don't discuss autism anywhere but in coaching, private coaching, if you're interested, because they're all unique. They're all different. It's more of a specialty. So I need to know what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked in the past. And all the children on spectrums, they're all at different levels. And yeah, I'd have to figure that out. I have to assess the situation. So sorry about that. I just don't talk about autism on here. I can't give you a general answer. Because sometimes I go outside of what I normally do for kids with autism. You got to do with what works, right? So sometimes I'll do stuff that I wouldn't normally recommend kids with autism. That's why I can't talk about it on here. 7 and 3. Is that the kids in the same room fighting? Okay. No, it isn't. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, just have a goof around time. Say that's it. Stop goofing around. If you don't, that'll be a consequence. I was just talking to parents today, and every so often I forget to remind people of things, but something that came up, and I said, never shame children for being bad. Like if they make a mistake, don't shame them for it. Say, yeah, you were bad, that you did that bad thing. Here's the consequence. Now, do you want to go to the park? You never want their bad behavior to become part of their identity. It's just an action. Just say, yeah, you were bad last night. You were goofing around too late. So the consequence is this. You're going to be helping me with the vacuuming today or something. And then say, do you understand? If you don't, then media blackout tonight or something. But you never want them to feel bad about being bad. That makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you? You don't want children to feel bad about being bad. You deal with bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. Like you try and bring out the good. You want children to feel good about themselves because that's when you get good kids, right? If you're focused on the bad behavior all the time, that's what you're going to keep getting, guaranteed. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. If you're always focusing on stopping the bad behavior, they're going to keep doing it. But if you're focused on dealing with bad behavior, then focusing on the good kid, so you deal with bad behavior, then you focus and put your energy into the good kid, bonding with them, playing with them, just keeping it all light and airy and friendly. I got to take this off again. Jeez, I hate being sick. Off and on, off and on. Oh. Yeah. Is it still possible to turn things around and become the leader when you've given in for so many years and been the pleaser? My daughter said, oh, she's little. I thought you were going to say 17. Yeah, I specialize in teenagers. You can still do it. Although with teenagers, it's not so much that you're their leader, but they're more their leader. You're just the leader for the big stuff. You don't want to micromanage a teenager. But yeah, it's not too late at all. Check out my boot camp course. That's all about your leadership, and it's 3 to 12 years old. From that age, 3 to 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership. They need, crave, and want a leader at that age, okay? That's when you're at the height of your leadership, and their behavior is pretty much all on you. However they're acting and behaving is a direct result of your parenting. If you're a leader, the behavior is going to be pretty darn good. If you're not a leader, chances are it might be a little bit more challenging. So check out the boot camp course. I have those live video coaching calls going on right now. They're embedded into the course afterwards. The next day, I think it happened. So you can even see the first week we did last week, and then I think I had 35 people turn up. So families to be able to turn up for a whole hour on a Saturday afternoon, I was pretty impressed with that. So anyway, you're welcome to join in. If you get the boot camp course, you can join in on those video calls. And they will be embedded into the course. You know what's funny? It's kind of a funny sideline. This is just kind of stuff that cracks me up. I had to put a disclaimer on there saying that they have to accept the disclaimer that those video courses are going to be used in my course and for marketing, however I want to use them in my business. They're public, right? So when you turn up to those group coaching, not my normal coaching, obviously that's different. Oh, that's what the joke's all about. Anyways. So they had to sign this disclaimer in the group coaching session, so I could put that in the course. And then you have to turn that toggle off when you're just doing personal one-on-one coaching. I was terrified. Wouldn't it be awful if I didn't disconnect that feature? And every time I'm private coaching, can I use this for marketing purposes? That'd be I would have been horrified if a client had seen that. How awful. Can I use our private coaching session for marketing? Anyway, it's only in the group coaching that's there. Otherwise, no. If you ever see that, I've made a mistake. If I am coaching you one-on-one private coaching and you ever see that disclaimer, tell me about it right away. You can accept it and trust the fact I will not be using private sessions for marketing purposes. It just struck me as so funny. I was so careful to get rid of that. Oh, I'm sure in future. The reason I'm telling you that is I'm sure I'll mess up. Okay, 9-year-old doesn't listen and talks back. Not all the time. He's a great kid, but he's definitely It's definitely a theme lately. Any suggestions? Okay, 9-year-old is a tween or a preteen. 9 to 12 is a tween. It just means they're finding their power. So it means you're not adjusting your parenting in that stage. They need a little bit more say in how things are going. So one of the ways that I would do that, you might want to check out the boot camp course. It's all about your leadership. Is you start asking their advice. Hey, what do you think should go on that behavior board? What do you think should be a rule? If they don't want to follow a rule, say, why not? You can start to pull them into this and discuss it with them. What do you think? Am I being unfair? Is there a reason why this isn't working? What do you think I'm being unreasonable about? So yeah, I'm suggesting, well, not a leader. If they're back talking, they never back talk a leader because they look up to you. So work on your leadership skills. But part of that is also bringing them in on this stuff, especially as they get a little bit older. The course goes from 3 to 12, but there's different advice for varying ages within the course. The only reason I smashed all those ages together is that's when you're at the height of your leadership. So you're very much the same kind of parent, not with teenagers and not with toddlers, but 3 to 12 years old is when you're at the height of your leadership. Now, someone said, my boys are also 7 and 3. That's cute, same ages. And I got to put this back on. Sorry, I'm fighting a flu. I'm just a mess lately. And I haven't done the emails yet. I'm going to answer emails tonight. I haven't answered one email all day. I usually only answer emails once a day. Just to let you know if I don't get back to you. Okay. Okay. What about a 4-year-old boy who talks back, is confident, independent, wants to do it all by himself? The more you say no, the more, okay, he doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. They can be really confident and independent, but still respectful. So yeah, where he does it. Mother did drugs, early pregnancy, no development issues other than speech delay. Okay, so was he an NAS baby, narcotic addiction syndrome baby? What they lack is impulse control. And usually at 3, they start to get impulse. They can control their impulses. Children who were born with drug dependent, I don't know if he was dependent, NAS baby, narcotic addiction syndrome. Different countries or different states and provinces call it different things. But anyway, I used to work with those kids. So yeah, they tend to have problems with impulse control. So it's even more important that you become a leader and teach them how to stop and think before they act. But the fact that, I think a lot of people say they're confident and independent, and then they sort of make an excuse, like that being the excuse for them being disrespectful. Those are different things. You can be confident and still respectful, right? So yeah, work on your leadership skills. And leadership, you can check out the free behavior board. That's completely free. Everything's in the link above. The free behavior board, the mini toddler courses, the big boot camp course. We did our first group coaching on Saturday. It went really well. That's now in the course. So if you want to take a look at that, if you've got the course. And then the future, I'm doing 5 more of them every Saturday for the next 5 weeks. So you can get in on that group coaching. That was my first one. I felt a little bit messing around a little bit because I didn't know how many people were going to turn up. So it went okay. Went fine. But anyway, so I'm going to sort of streamline it a little bit different, get more organized with it this week. What if you don't use media for blackout? Just take something away. It's just a negative deprivation. It could be anything. It could be their favorite toy. It could be we were going to go out to wherever tonight, but we're not going to do that now. So you take something fun away. It's negative deprivation. So it's you're taking something away. Positive action is when you make them do something nice. So if they break a rule, then you make them do a chore. If they won't do it, then you take something away. Oh gosh, stupid flu. Sorry. Ugh. Oh, such a mess. I keep thinking I'm over it, and it's just not happening. Still go to the gym every day, which is probably stupid. You're not supposed to work out when you're sick because it prolongs the cold. I'd rather work out every day and be sick for longer. I can't not work out. I have to do it. It's a sickness. Okay, well, haha. Anyway. How do you help a 9-year-old boy with separation? Oh, you're getting separated. Your marriage is ending. Our kids, we separated when our kids were 9 and 14 years old. And the best advice I can give you is never fight. Well, we didn't anyway. Anyway, so, get along. Like, they don't care if you're together. They just care that you get along. It's your antagonism and your arguing and your fighting that upsets them more than anything. My ex-husband, he came over for dinner every night for a couple of weeks, I think it was. And then the kids were like 9 and 14, and they said, I love their dad, but they said, can you stop inviting him over every night? Because we were just trying to make it easier for them. And because they felt like they had to entertain him all night, they couldn't just do whatever they wanted. So, and then it just ended up being him and I sitting there after dinner. That's the whole point of us separating, right? So anyway, but yeah, just make sure you get along. That's all I can say. Take the high road. Love your kids more than you hate each other. That's all. We still went everywhere together. Like we went to all the school stuff and everything together. So like a united front is parenting. Just because you're not together, you're still a parent. He's still the father of my kids. He's the grandfather of my grandchild. I mean, but I don't see him as my ex. I see him as the father of my kids and grandfather of my grandchild. I literally don't think of him that way. So yeah, it makes it easier. Just think of them as the father of your kids. Oh, I've just started watching your videos and have recommended them to friends. I've got an 11, 8, and 4-year-old, but even says Seymour. I'm having a hard time. Oh, that's a long one. But even more, so I've tried taking of your tips, my high behavior needs first grade classroom. Oh, you're using them in your classroom. You're a teacher. Okay, I can't discuss teaching because I only teach parenting. A huge percentage of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists, daycare workers, but I don't teach that because I don't know anything about it. Some stuff does cross over, but a lot does not. So that's why I'm hired by people with child development degrees, because that's a business. Parenting is personal. There's no degree in parenting. I guess the PhD is when you've raised kids who are independent and functioning and not in jail. I guess that's the PhD, right? So, but yeah, I guess that's it. There's no PhD in parenting. Yeah, I don't see how there ever could be. How could you ever get trained in parenting except through experience? How could that be? I don't know. Yeah, interesting. To me it is anyway. Yeah, I don't teach that. I'll tell you one thing that's commonly used in schools and works beautifully with schools because they're businesses, they're not personal, but is a disaster at home. It's the reward chart. I hate reward charts at home. At school, they work beautifully because it's not personal. All the kids it could be a behavior reward chart, but you got 30 kids on there. They don't take it personally. It's not an affront to each child. Okay, it's just a classroom. It's a business. It's an institution, kind of a business thing. At home, they're a disaster. If you put a good behavior reward chart on the wall, you know what you're saying to your kids at home as parents? You're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. You see that? A behavior board says you're normally great, but if you should happen to do something bad, I know how to deal with it. See the difference? Yeah, a lot of parents have a behavior board and a reward chart, and it's like it's just a disaster. Yeah, yeah. Don't give them rewards for being good, for being nice. That's just a baseline expectation. My son was in grade 2, and his teacher called me at lunch to tell me this. She said, "It was so cute, Lisa." She goes, "I said to him, 'Why are you so nice?' And he said, 'Mommy makes us be nice.'" That's just my baseline expectation. I don't reward them for not being nasty or not being mean or not being not. You see what I mean? I don't reward them for just being normal. To me, normal is well-behaved and respectful. That's normal. Why would I reward for that? They had a great life. And the thing is that because they were so respectful and they were nice kids to be around, their life was great. So why do I need to reward? They already had. I remember once my son, he would have been the one to question things more. My daughter wouldn't know. Anyway, he was at a friend's house and he saw that they had a reward chart. And if the kid said, please, he'd get a reward. My son said, how come we don't get rewarded for saying please? Like, because he couldn't figure out why this kid was getting rewarded just for saying please, which is ridiculous. And I said, your reward is having me as a mother. And he went, oh, okay, never mind. Cut that argument out. But yeah, don't reward for good behavior. I know that sounds, good behavior just means they have a good life. I used to say to my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. So yeah, just expect them just to be good. Like that's normal. Just treat that like it's normal. Don't treat it like it's, wow, you were actually good. Whoa, didn't expect that coming from you, you see? That's why I always say you deal with bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. Just expect that. I did that. I was mentoring troubled teens and I treated them like they were nice people. Turns out they were with me. See, because they whatever you expect of them, however you treat them, they rise up to that. Eventually, it doesn't happen overnight. And I don't have history. I come in knowing how to do this. If you've got history of not doing that, it's going to be harder. But it just takes some commitment and time. Anyway, check out the boot camp course. If you want to learn how to be a leader, check out the boot camp course. It's up above. Okay. I want to do your next session with my nephew is in T-ball until May, and the games at the same times as your classes. Yeah, they're going to be recorded and put in the course anyway, so you'll see them anyway, and you'll see other parents. Most of them are on there on video, and they all look exactly the same to me. You're all so young now because I'm old, and everyone looks like you're all my kids' age now. And some of my new clients were kids I was working with their parents. Isn't that interesting? So that's been really fun. Anyway, I got to get going. I'm moving over to Instagram now. If you want to follow me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Check out the link above for my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, learning how to get respect, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. You have to apply to that because I can't take everyone on. I'm super busy these days. Anyway, thanks so much, and I'm going over to Instagram. Bye now. Oh, good. I wasn't sure I hit the right button. Did I hit the right button? Yeah, I did. Okay, this is on YouTube. Kathy, my teenager wants to drive but has a history with experimenting with marijuana and alcohol. How can I trust him to drive? You'd have to hire me for that one. That's not an easy answer. I don't know your relationship with your teenager. Is it their own car? Is it your car? And what is their history with marijuana and alcohol and any other kind of drug? It might be other stuff too. What are their friends like? So yeah, you'd have to hire me. Look into coaching if you're interested in getting my help with that. So overall, I would say they have to prove themselves if they're, but you can't just, okay. Whenever I'm hired to work with parents of teenagers, it's always tricky because they want to address all this big stuff right away. We don't do that till week maybe 3. There's 5 sessions in coaching. So we might not even get to the big stuff till week 3. We're working on your relationship with your teenager first. You got to bond with them first. You got to get some mutual respect going before we can deal with the big stuff. But if it's life and death dangerous stuff and they're driving drunk, then yeah, there's no way they'd be driving. There's a whole bunch of things I do around that. I can't. Anyway, that's coaching. If you're interested, you have to look into that. It's in the link above or in the description on YouTube. How to stop my 12-year-old from wearing makeup. Well, I can't answer that because I don't know what you mean by that. Like, you bought them that makeup or they have money to go out and buy makeup. And if you can't, okay, I don't know how to answer that because I don't know your relationship. Are they just wearing lip balm or are they wearing like heavy eyeliner? They're ready to walk the streets at night kind of makeup, or, it's too broad of a question. I don't know how to answer that. Like, I don't have a problem with a 12-year-old wearing makeup. I think I allowed my daughter to wear lip balm, not tinted, and clear mascara, I think, and that was it. So that was just a start. But she was very, like, whatever I said, she was fine with. But yeah. But if you don't have respect, you can't do that. You have to learn how to be a leader before you can sort of address those things. That's what I'm saying. People want to know how to stop their kids from doing stuff. I say, are you a leader? Then it's easy. If you're not, you got to learn how to be a leader first. Then you can do that. See, everyone wants to know how to fly the plane, but they don't want to learn the controls. I just want to get in there and fly it. No, you got to learn the controls first. You have to understand the cockpit. You have to understand how to be a leader first. Then you can address the behavior. Then you can exercise your leadership. You can't do it if you're not a leader. So you got to learn the leadership skills. Check out it's linked, it's the first video here on Instagram, and I don't know where it is on YouTube, sorry, but if you're on Instagram or TikTok, for sure, it's the first video. And it's my example of leadership parenting. It's the pool story. It explains, it's the best story on how I view parenting leadership. It wasn't my own kid, it was another kid I dealt with. And how I look at leadership is you focus on bad behavior like that, and then you deal with it, and then you focus on the good kid. You want them to like themselves when they're with you. If you never want to shame a child, you want them to feel good about your whole goal with kids is to make them like themselves when they're with you. When you bring that out in them, they want to please you. That's the way it goes. Or when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. That's your power, is they look up to you. You're like a mentor. You treat them with respect and you get it back. Everyone expects the respect, but have you earned it? Have you worked for it? Do you deserve it? Right? You gotta earn that. You gotta work for it. I put in the work to get that. You think when I worked with all those kids, it was just I walked in and got respect? I put in the work. So yeah, that's what I teach, how you do that. Oops, I'm going to skip ahead because people come and go, and I want to make sure I'm answering questions when people are being here. I love the advice about being a good leader. I have a 1-year-old, so I can't use it yet, but I plan to. The only way I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. And number 2, number 3 pertains to you. You can do number 2 also. And you can do actually first 3. You can do 4 of them. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. I have lots of videos on that. Number 3 is, this is the one I was really going to mention, is you want to connect with a toddler, like even a 1-year-old, you enter their world. You don't take them to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Parents say, I don't know how to play with a little kid. How do you do it? And I say, it's easy. Watch how they play and join in. You start playing with them by doing what they're doing. If they're just hitting something like that, you sit down and do that. That's how you enter. Then you can start to redirect the play. But you enter their world. You watch what they're doing and you join in. Anyway, that's how you connect with toddlers. At any age, really. Number 4 is you stop with the mini therapy sessions when they're naughty. When they do something bad, don't discuss it. Just take action, saying no, and then use consistent corrective actions. They're all about actions, not words. These mini therapy sessions, they're just a bunch of trash. Drives me insane. That's all. That use your words. Think about your feelings. And that hurt, mommy. And you're a good boy. And all that mini therapy crap, it's just garbage. Oh, God, it drives me nuts. Anyway, they need actions. They're not about words. The mini therapy sessions were invented for the mom to feel good about herself. They have nothing to do with the toddler. They're not listening to you. Okay. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got 1 marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Okay. Preach. I don't know. Is that a snotty comment? I don't know. I get kids on here sometimes. Okay, I don't know how to answer this one, and I'll tell you why. It's along the same lines as something else. I have a 2-year-old that's always picking her nose or lips, so until she bleeds. She's 2 years old, alone in her crib before you're awake. Before she'll do it. So that's a really hard thing to address because it's like thumb sucking. It's a very hard thing to stop because it's habitual. It's not a bad behavior or anything. It's just something that they're used to doing. I would get them something else to pick at. So whenever you catch them doing that, give them something else to do. So there's something that is also very sensory. I was going to say try and match it like a hole with snot in it. I don't know what you do with that, right? Sorry for being so graphic. But try and duplicate that as much as possible. So like with thumb sucking, we get them to have like a sippy cup with a straw, and they can actually suck on the straw. So, but yeah, it's tricky. There's no easy answer for that. Oh, it's not in it. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just so used to being graphic because I'm talking about kids every day. So just, especially when it's potty training stuff, some of that gets really gross. Okay. How to be friends with a 12-year-old. I always say you want to be best friends with your kids for sure. But you don't dress like them and act like them, like, whoa, hey, you don't do any of that. But you want to be best friends and that you want to have fun with them, and you have fun with them in their world. So watch how they play, watch what they like, and take an interest in that. Don't expect them to do what you like. You do what they like, okay? That's respect. But don't just fake it. Like I remember my son, he was into heavy metal music and PlayStation games and video games. That's what he loved. So I'm not into any of that stuff. But I took an interest in it, and I didn't fake it. I would sit down, and next thing you know, he's handing me a controller, and I'd say, I'm no good at this. Can we do that? I think we can play Guitar Hero and Crash Bandicoot together. So we did that. And heavy metal music, he actually made a playlist of songs I actually like. Open your mind, find something that they enjoy, and then you join in, and then try and find a common ground. But you enter their world. Don't expect them to enter your adult world. They're not there yet. You find your inner 12-year-old. Like I said, don't dress like them, and don't try and hang out with their friends. When you're trying to enter their world, you wait till you're invited. Make it very obvious that you want to, but then, hey, do you want to go do this together? Or my daughter and I used to go and do DDR at the arcade a lot. And then I liked it so much. And when the kids were at school, I'd go oftentimes during the day. I go all by myself, middle-aged woman at the arcade doing DDR. That's that Dance Dance Revolution. And then we bought the mats for home. So yeah, there's always something. Find your inner kid. Have some fun with your kids. They respect that. But don't intrude on them when they've got their friends over. Unless they want you to join them, but yeah, leave that up to them. I remember once with someone that one of my kids went to school with, and the mother was a kid was 15 or 16, this girl, and the mother did a Facebook. This when Facebook was big. I mean, like that was the only one. So before Instagram even, and so she posted a picture of her and her daughter in a movie theater with a bottle of wine, and the daughter was like 15. That's not a friend. That's not a mom. That's someone trying to be cool. That's not mothering. That was so you can be friends with your kids, but you don't do that. Like I just thought that was terrible. She should have been. I would never do that, report her, but I felt like it. It's horrible. Oh, preach is like saying yes. I agree. You're speaking. I get some real snotty comments in here, and you know what? If you've been watching me for a while, you know I love that stuff. I don't get as much anymore, but I used to get a lot of it. Yeah, it's fun. Oh, I want to tell you this cute story. This was just adorable. I was just coaching a darling young couple, and they have a 3-year-old and a little toddler. And the little toddler hit the 3-year-old, so a 3-year-old boy, and they said I could tell this story. It's so freaking cute. And they have the behavior board up. And the 3-year-old is a boy, and his little sister's the toddler, and she hit him. So he took her over to the board and pointed out that she's not allowed to hit. Is that the cutest thing? Like a mentor, like a big brother teaching his little sister. I thought that was so cute. Anyway, so yeah, they kids really get into this behavior board because it just makes sense to them. A lot of adults struggle with it more than the kids do. That reminds me of my mom always trying to be my friend, not my mom. I was definitely friends with my kids, for sure. I was a very goofy mom, but I was mom first, I'll tell you. I was a parent before I was a friend. But because they didn't need a lot of parenting, they were, because we respected each other. I didn't have to come down as the mom very often. It was very rare. But I was always mom first. Always. There was a very clear line drawn that I'm very much the mom. Isn't that cute about that little boy? I just thought, I love my job. I just hear the cutest things. That was adorable. Behavior board. Okay. The behavior board is up above. That's completely free, by the way. So you can check that out. That's for all ages 3 and above, not for under 3. I know someone in the course started that boot camp course at 2.5. It's really too young. At 3, they start to be able to stop and think before they act. So I said to the parents who'd done it, this is in the group, I'm doing Zoom coaching right now in the in the boot camp course. So it's just a one-off. I'm going through 6 weeks. Anyway, I've only done 1 week. If you want to join in, you can get in on this Saturday. It's every Saturday afternoon. So anyway, I said to them, well, now you start from scratch. And now that I think the child's just turned 3 or around 3. And I said, now you can start, but just start all over again as if you hadn't done it before. 2.5-year-old doesn't understand the behavior board. They have to stop and think. They're in the moment discipline when they're that little. But 3, they can literally stop and think before they act. Doesn't mean they're going to do it every time, but they can learn to do it. Okay, that's good. This comes up a lot. What if you're following the leadership parenting and your partner isn't? So they're the pleaser parent and they're trying to give in. There's usually is a leader and a pleaser in the family. Like I was the leader, my ex-husband was the pleaser, my mom was the leader, my dad was the pleaser. The key is that the pleaser has to defer to the leader when it's something that counts, right? Like an example of that would have been if my mom wasn't around, I would have said to my dad, Daddy, can I please have this? And he'd go, sure, sweetie pie, you can have whatever you want. And then he was starting to clue into this, right? And so he said, let's check with mom first. And I go, oh, never mind. Because I knew. So long as the pleaser defers to the leader, okay? And same thing with our family. Like my kids, if they were out with their dad, they might have pushed him around. They might have asked him for treats and that. You don't do that with mom. It's not a treat if you ask. That's me feeling a demand for junk food. But anyway, they would ask him, and he'd say, what do I do? And I'd say, just say, do you want me to tell mom? That's all it took. The pleaser should defer to the leader. They're still going to love that pleaser. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that there only needs to be one clear leader, because children become, their identity becomes attached to that leader, because that's when they're at their best. They have the most pride, they have the highest self-esteem, and they like themselves the most when they're with the leader. So they tend to get past the age of about 3.5, they carry that leadership umbrella everywhere. If they have a leader that they respect, they tend to respect everybody, okay? Because that becomes their identity. So they only need one leader, but the pleaser has to defer to the leader. Yeah, as soon as my ex-husband started saying, "Do you want me to tell mom?" They were like, "Never mind." Funny thing is, I never even did anything. Or else, it was kind of a cute little game we'd play. He became the treat master. We always called him the treat master. So he'd take them out and say, "Don't tell mom, I'm going to get you a donut." Well, they couldn't wait to get home. "Guess what daddy did? Daddy got us a donut." And I go, "Daddy, did you get," that was kind of fun. But yeah, don't worry about it. It's okay if you got a pleaser in the family, so long as they're not undermining you. Like if you lay down the law about something and then they said, "Oh no," let them have it. You never argue or anything in front of them. So make sure it's a very clear leader. Yeah, you only need one. Sorry, I'm sick. Well, I shouldn't say sorry, I'm sick. Sorry, I'm blowing my nose because I'm sick. Currently doing boot camp, week 1 with our 3-year-old. We have no hurting on behavior board. How should we discipline other bad behaviors such as yelling, climb? Okay, good question. I think I've addressed that in the boot camp course. You're only focusing on that behavior board, and do not take those consequences and use them with anything else. That behavior board is just a sign that things are changing. It's like if you go to learn how to fly a plane, you're going to maybe learn 3 dials in the first lesson, but you're not going to fly the plane yet. So don't worry about the other stuff. Just fail. Whatever you were doing before, just let it happen. So yeah, and you don't put no hurting each other, no hurting. You can put no hurting as long as it's physical. It can't be like, what I mean is it can't say you called him ugly or something like that. It has to be physical with kids. It can't be attitude unless it's bad. Unless it's bad words, you can't put attitude on there. So I would say no hurting other people. And it means hitting, kicking, biting, that kind of thing. So yeah. The other stuff you just have to suffer with. Week 2, then you can put down no climbing on furniture. Week 3, then you can put, and you never put no yelling. Never. That's too much to ask. You never put, that's in the attitude department. You can't put, that's like saying be a good kid. It's too much. It's too broad. It's too much to ask. Yeah. Or one parent actually wrote down, respect your parents. That was the rule. Well, you haven't earned it yet. Why? Don't expect something you haven't even earned. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, you got to put actions down there. Anyway, week 1, week 2, week 3, you'll have 3 rules up there. Then the other bad behaviors start to drop away because they start to respect you. That's how that works. The behavior board is a sign of your leadership. And just you just nail that. Get that one rule right. And then the rest of the stuff, don't worry about it. Then the next rule, you got 2 rules now, 2 behavior boards. Just focus on those 2 rules. It takes time. I've actually had a couple clients today. I would say by week 3 or 4, parents start to get it in coaching. They start to get it. Yeah, it just starts to come easier. They start to understand. The kids start to look at them a little bit differently. Week 3 or 4, it takes that time, right? You're learning. Okay. My 3-year-old won't independent play. So you got a kid who's always expected to be entertained. It's not your job to entertain them 24/7. But if they're 3 years old, I would say something like this. "Oh, I'll tell you what, we're going to do Play-Doh. I'm going to play with you for 20 minutes. I'm going to put the timer on. Then you can play on your own." So you've already set that scene. You've already set the expectation. And then ding, ding, the timer goes up. "Okay, I'm going to go do my chores now," or something. So you're telling them ahead of time how it's going to be done. Be predictable. Children like structure. They like routine. They like to know what's coming. If you just say, "Okay, I'm done now," they didn't see it coming. It just leaves it open for them arguing. So yeah, set it up ahead of time, and then get them started. So I'm just scrolling ahead because people come and go. So I want to make sure people are still here. Oh God, what a good question. Would your toilet training course be okay for me to use in my rental apartment that's fully carpeted? No, no. I would be tempted just to use pull-ups in that situation. Usually I always say when you're doing the potty training, make sure it's like in a floored area. And if it's all carpeted, I would just keep them in the kitchen or something if it's not carpeted. And because it's a party, you can keep them in there all day long, right? Because you got balloons, you got party stuff, you're active. It's exhausting. I potty trained my son at 2.5 years old in one day. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. My daughter was 2 days, and they were both 2.5 years old, but it's intense. I like to get stuff done, like just get in and get it done. I don't want to drag it out. But yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. It's like when people say to me, well, we live in an apartment, but the walls are like cardboard, and so we can't ignore a tantrum. What do you want from me? Like I always say, you ignore tantrums. What can I say to that? Like if you can't ignore a tantrum, that's my method in how to deal with tantrums. I would be tempted to take them out in the car and let them have the tantrum out there if you had to. But yeah, sometimes it's just tricky, right? Anyway, I'm going to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. That Zoom group coaching is still going on. We're in week 2 coming up this Saturday. It's every Saturday at noon. And I'm just doing this once, going through for 6 weeks with you. And then coaching. If you're interested in coaching, check that out. And then let me know why you want to work with me and how old your kids are and all that sort of stuff. I can't take everyone on with coaching right now. Anyway, okay, I've got to how do you fix nighttime bedwetting? It's in the course. Check out the course. What did I call that? Potty party, whatever. I don't know what I called it. Anyway, it's one of my mini toddler courses up there. Anyway, I'm moving over to TikTok now. Happy parenting.
His jaw was not moving to.
Oops, I'm on the wrong channel. I've got a private channel here too. Okay. And go live. There we go. TikTok. Geez, I have to push like 20 buttons on TikTok to go live now because they start up with ads. They didn't used to do that, but TikTok starts running ads when you turn it on now. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's just extra buttons. Okay, let's see what's on YouTube. What to do in the car when the kids are fighting. They're 3 and 5 years old. This only works if you're going somewhere that they care about, that they want to get to. I would stop the car and say, we're going to sit here for 5 minutes until you can get along. Then when you start driving again, pull over for another 5 minutes. It's only going to work if you're going somewhere they want to get to. Okay, don't do that on the way to school. You got to do some practice runs and they'll just get used to that. But yeah, that's what you do. Do practice runs. Or just go somewhere where they want to go to. And then as soon as they start to fight, I don't like fighting, we'll pull over and then we'll sit here for 5 minutes. Every time you fight, we're going to pull over. You might be just starting the whole way. That's okay. Say hi. What does that mean? That's new. I haven't seen that before, say hi. I feel like I haven't done a live in ages. I haven't done a live. I didn't do a live yesterday. I've just been sick, so I don't know. Just didn't do it yesterday. Just out of it. Okay, just waiting for your questions to come in. Okay, sorry, just having a problem with the buttons. This is from AK on YouTube. What should we do when our 2.3-year-old refuses to eat? Not from nutrition standpoint, from behavior standpoint. Yeah, I don't discuss nutrition on here. I'm not a nutritionist. Like, should we just let him go, or should we tell him it's mealtime and he has to sit at the table for the rest of the family? Be playful to feed him? No, don't play it for you. Yeah, you say you have to sit at the table. Okay, this isn't a nutrition thing, so I can say this. They generally don't eat as much as we think they should. And a lot of snacks are very filling, very calorie dense. So yeah, if they don't want to sit and eat a meal, because they are grazers, they do tend to want to snack throughout the day. Try and keep their snacks a little bit lighter, and maybe have maybe a couple little snack foods at dinner time, something that they really like at dinner time. But yeah, I would want them to sit there, and they should be in a high chair so that they're restrained. Yeah, I would. That's dinner that you're sitting around talking. No toys. They can't get up during meal times. Yeah, I would want them sitting there. Just because they're not eating, they can still sit there. Can't come up with consequences my kids don't like. They're making a game of it now. Yeah, lots of things I've got lots of ideas. I don't know how old they are, what you've come up with that they like. I don't know. You'd have to tell me the ages and what you're doing. But don't just do a continuation. Just you have to start the whole question again because I'll forget the first part of the question. I don't feed him snacks. So no snacks. He's 2.5. I would still make him sit there. Yeah. And you sit and talk like you're really, and, mealtime for us was fun. Like we'd sit around and chat like as a family. I didn't focus on them eating. I focused on the fact that we're all sitting there as a family. So, yeah. My 3.5-year-old and 7-year-old never get along, both girls. So you got 3 and a 7-year-old girls and they don't get along. Don't do one-on-one time with them. If you want your kids to learn how to get along, you have to teach them how to do it. And you do that by playing with them. And play to the weakest link or the youngest one. So you play something that she could do just as well as you guys could do. And it could be something like just hopping around or playing balloon tennis or something really simple. It's nothing competitive, but it's something just fun and goofy. So look up fun activities with little kids and just play something like that, or do just Play-Doh, make jewelry. Jewelry art would be a really fun thing to do with little girls. I used to love stuff like that. So yeah, do stuff like that, but do baking with them. Yeah, stuff that you could do together. The one-on-one time builds resentment with kids. I know I've had families who say, I don't know why they don't get along. I do one-on-one time so they don't feel jealous, and they don't see it that way. They say, oh, you're spending all that time with him or her. And, it builds resentment and hatred with the kids. If you want them to get along, you have to teach them how to get along. So you play with them. Yeah. A lot of parents focus on what they don't want their kids to do rather than teaching them how to do the right thing. So yeah, don't always focus on the bad behavior. Focus on the good stuff, right? A lot of parents are. A thing I see consistently is a fear of saying the word no because you're afraid of their scenes. If you're afraid of a fit scene, a tantrum, or a meltdown, your kids are in charge. To me, I'm like, bring it on. That's your accepting the fact that that you're not going to get what you want, when you want, and how you want it all the time. They have to learn how to accept the word no. If you're afraid of the fit scenes and tantrums, they are in charge, guaranteed. You're certainly not. So yeah, don't be afraid of a scene. And scenes are behind every scene is a lesson. And yeah, don't be afraid of that. I tell this story all the time. It's a quick one. That 8-year-old, I'd never met him before, and I was going to be working with him as like a behavioral mentor. And he says to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And he said it with that filthy expression. And I said, bring it on. And he never did. He thought, she knows what she's doing. Whoops. So yeah, don't be afraid of that. Like I was thinking, good, bring it on. Like that's my opportunity to exercise my leadership, to show you that I can't be manipulated. But then it's not just that. It's also, then you got to focus on the good kid. You got to bring out the best. Okay, bring it on. He didn't have a tantrum, so I said, okay, now let's get to work. So what do you like to do? Do you like to play soccer, or what sports do you like? You see, that's how I do it. I don't talk about what he just said. Why would I not say, you don't give me what I want to get a fit? Why would I not remind him he just said that? To me, that would be very rude and disrespectful if I brought that up. Why would I not do that? Because that would be like, and let's discuss how rotten you are. Why would I do that? Instead, I'm focusing on the good kid. So he just said something real rotten to me, right? And then I said, bring it on. He didn't. So then I'm saying, okay, so let's get to work here. What game do you like to play? Do you like PlayStation? My kid loves PlayStation, stuff like that. So it's like it throws them off because I'm not discussing the bad behavior. I dealt with it. And then I focus on the good kid, bringing out the good. And I used to use a microscope to find it sometimes. I'll tell you, it can be a challenge. But I always focus on the good kid. I always focus on trying to, and I never focus on what they're good at. I focus on what they like. Because a lot of kids are good at something, it doesn't mean they like it. But I focus on what they like. What do you like to do? What's your favorite thing? And then I offer some suggestions, whatever. Anyway. What to say to a 3-year-old that says no all the time? Why do you need to say anything? Why do you need to address that? So if you say we're going out the door and they say no, pick them up and take them out the door. You say what you're doing, and if they say no, you make it happen anyway. Well, we're going to have a bath. No, and pick them up and put them in the tub. Take action. Yeah. They're testing you. By the way, at 3 years old, that's a fork in the road. If you're a leader, they don't say no. If you're not, they start saying it a lot. You know what happens? At 3, they stop and think, and they're able to stop and sort of reason things out. And they go, wait a minute, my parents they're pleasers. They're not leaders. I think I'm going to take over. If you are a leader and you don't put up with any crap, okay, when they hit 3, they just get easy, super easy, and everything's lovely, right? That's the fork in the road at 3 years old. They're saying no because you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills. I have a free behavior board up there, or the boot camp course is all about your leadership. It's 5 weeks. I'm doing a group coaching call every Saturday with that course right now. You can check that out. What if they start yelling when you pick them up? Yeah, I would hope they do. That's what you want. You want that. You want them to have a fit when you take over. That's them processing that you're in charge, not them. So what if so? If you're afraid of them. If you're afraid of your kids, they pick up on that and they take over. They treat you like a dish rag. They wipe their feet all over you. It's like that 8-year-old kid when he said, "If you don't give me what I want, I'm gonna have a fit." And I said, "Bring it on." I invite that. Yeah, don't be afraid of them. They're only little. Why are you afraid of your kids? Don't be afraid of them. And leadership is kindness. This leadership brings out the best in them. And if you allow them to be rotten for year after year after year, just because you think you're giving into them and you think you're being nice, it's the exact opposite. Children who are misbehaving and disrespectful of parents past the age of 3 or at 3 and above, their self-esteem's in the toilet, guaranteed. You can't be disrespectful and treating your parents poorly and like yourself at the same time. So I would totally take the course if you did one on 2, 3-year-old classrooms. Oh, I'm not a teacher. I teach parenting. They're different roles, completely different roles. That's why so many of my clients are teachers, because they struggle with parenting. A lot of my clients are child psychologists too, and they struggle with parenting. I couldn't do their job. I couldn't teach. I couldn't possibly teach teaching. I have no qualifications for that. None. Yeah, I would never be so arrogant of me to think I could teach a teacher anything. But I can teach you about parenting. I stay in my lane. I've had a lot of offers from schools, and I used to do a lot of public speaking at schools. I don't do that anymore. I only do stuff at home online now, because for me to get up, travel, and get dressed up and go and do public speaking, they have to pay me a lot to make it worth my while. Like, I just don't want to do that anymore. I'm getting old. You start cutting out stuff you don't want to do. Funny to run away outside. Okay, there's 4 things that kids are born to do. They're either going to do them or they're never going to do them. They're just born, it's genetically, it's in their DNA. One is tantrums, one is climbing, one is hitting, and one is running. Runners and climbers often go together because they have no fear. If I had a runner, that's a safety issue. This is serious stuff, right? So I would put a harness on them before I go out, and you say, "You do not run away from me." As soon as they start to run, clip them in and keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. I would do some trial runs with that. Don't go somewhere you have to go. And just go make up, say, "We're just going to train them to do this." Go somewhere where it's not, you can just go home and they can have a fit. They are going to have a fit. Their scenes, fits, tantrums, and meltdowns are them fighting the fact that you're the leader and they are not. You do not need to validate those feelings during those scenes. It's them processing not being in charge anymore. It's them processing not getting their own way all the time. That's okay. Allow that process to happen. Don't be afraid of it. Behind every fit, scene, lesson, and meltdown, fit, scene, what am I saying? Behind every tantrum, fit, scene, and meltdown is a lesson. I called it lesson. Anyway, is a lesson. So you want to let that happen. If you're trying to avoid those scenes, they're not going to learn. Because the only way to avoid those scenes is to give them everything they want all the time. And they're just going to take over. Advice on hitting, if they're toddlers, I have a toddlers who hit course. It's one of my many toddler courses. Does the board start every day again and a new day? Oh, I don't know what you mean by that, but I'll just sort of quickly explain the behavior board. It's free, it's self-explanatory, but every week you have a new one. You only do 3. So the first 3 weeks, you just do the behavior board. If you're in the course or in coaching, week 4, we go off the behavior board and we do other stuff. But the behavior board is just a teaching tool. Like, I would never use one. There's no way I want to give any power to a board. It sort of helps you out, gets you organized. It's a symbol of leadership. Whereas I want them looking right at me when I'm disciplining. But I'm level 10 with what I teach. This is a learning tool, a teaching tool. The behavior board, 1 rule per week. and you change the kids' rules. Your rules, and nothing else has to change except the kids' rules. So each week they have a different rule, only 3 of them. I had one client who came back to me a year later. They had 13 behavior boards up. And I said, I told you to do 3. And they said, yeah, but 3 was good. We thought 13 would be better. Turns out, no, it's too much. So yeah, we don't use those forever. Like I said, in the course, the boot camp course, or in coaching, we only do 3 behavior boards. Then weeks 4 and 5, we go off the behavior boards. Advice on teen refusing dentist. Well, I need to work on your relationship. Why are they refusing the dentist? I don't know why. So I need to, that would be a coaching thing. But if that's all you're dealing with, you probably don't want to hire me for coaching. But yeah, I need to know your relationship before I can give you any advice. And why are they refusing that? And what else do they refuse? If they're refusing that, they'd refuse other stuff. Do you agree with fewer boundaries but stricter boundaries? I have no idea what you mean by that. No idea. And I didn't have a lot of rules or boundaries with my kids. They just understood you got to go to school, you got some chores, you got to get up, get ready for school, you got to do your homework. But I never had I never had curfews or anything for my teenagers. I respected them. So why would I have a curfew? They were not out all night though. There's a way of doing that. But yeah, I didn't have strict boundaries. They treated me with respect because I treated them with respect. So we negotiated a lot, especially as they got older. A lot of stuff was just discussed. But they knew they were just polite kids, right? Yeah. If you're always setting boundaries, that's kind of fear-based parenting. That's what that comes across like. It's fear. And here's another boundary. Here's another boundary. I didn't do that. Just be nice, be respectful. Just like I treat you nice, I respect you. So that you tend to get back what you give. I was very respectful of my kids, and they had a say. You do not want obedient little soldiers. That's ridiculous. They had a say. Believe me, my kids had a voice. And they used those voices, but they were respectful. So if they didn't like something I was doing, they would say, Mom, I didn't like that. And I'd say, oh, really? Why? They'd say, because of this. I'd say, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I listened to them. And they never came at me in a disrespectful way because they knew I would listen if they were respectful. So you see, you give and you get. Sounds to me like you're a little bit more the authority style with the boundaries. Yeah, I don't do that. I teach leadership. It's very different. There's 2 very distinct parenting polar opposites. One is the old-fashioned authority style parenting, the newfangled, it's about 30, 40 years old now, the pleaser parent style. You give in to all their demands, you try and make everything fun for them. You want participation awards. Is that the stupidest thing you ever heard of? I just turn up and I get an award. Oh God, you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. It's a disaster. Anyway, the old-fashioned authority style parent wasn't a bad way to parent, but you build resentment in the teen years, but they usually come out just fine and they appreciate you for what you did for them. The pleaser parent style, they rebel in the teen years, they rebel in the little years, they never respect you, and they end up being snots, who live at home forever and just always want handouts. I'm exaggerating, but anyway, I don't do either of those. I teach leadership. You give respect to get it, and you want to build high self-esteem, and you want them to be independent and think for themselves. But you want to play with them a lot too. Their love language is play. It's not praise. Praise does not, parents tend to overpraise these days. I've noticed that, but they tend to overpraise and underplay. Praise does not build self-esteem, or does it get good results. Praise kind of doesn't do much for kids. It's not their love language. Their love language is play. You look at the difference between a 5-year-old and you say to that 5-year-old, you're so special and beautiful and smart and funny. Okay, I'm going to go do the dishes now. This is them standing there looking at you. Now you say to that same 5-year-old, hey, what are you playing with? Can I join in? And watch their face. Which one's going to make them feel better? All that praise or playing with them? Parents tend to overpraise and underplay. Anyway, a leader will play with their kids. Play with them, join in, have fun with them, get to know them, meet them in their world, respect them. That's how you respect them. You meet them in their world. Okay, I got to get going. I'm sick. I'm just a mess. Anyway, I'm all sweaty and then I get all cold. So I got to get going. Anyway, I'm going to try and get to all my emails tonight. If I don't answer it, sorry. I'm going to get to my existing clients for sure anyway. But yeah, and I can't take on any new clients today. So anyway, I'll try and get to you tomorrow. If you do want to work with me, you have to tell me why and how old your kids are. because I like to mix up the ages too. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, which I have those live Zooms going on right now. The group coaching every Saturday afternoon in the boot camp course. If you're interested, check that out. May I ask what your job is? I'm not a psychic. I'm a parenting coach. Anyway, one thing I want to say too. Oh no, I couldn't be bothered. My throat's bugging me. Anyway, so check out all that. And if you want to work with me, private coaching, you can check that out. But I can't take on everyone right now. I'm just so busy. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Good night. Okay, and YouTube. There we go.